thinks of the literal. However, in the book of Zohar, the secrets themselves are revealed, and the reader knows that they are secrets of the Torah, although it is not understood because of the smallness of the attaining and the depth of the attained. 34 from Zohar for All. Godliness does not change or is in any way affected by those degrees and corrections and names in time, place, and change of actions that the lower one discerns in his covers. Rather, we should know that these covers also serve for disclosures. Moreover, by the measure of the cover in each name and correction, so is the measure of disclosure in it. One who is rewarded with receiving the measure of covers properly is later rewarded with these covers becoming measures of disclosures for him. One who studies should remember that these words during the study, and he will not fail in his thought. זוכה אחר כך שהכיסויים נעשו לו למידות גילויים. והלומד צריך לזכור דברים אלו בזמן הלימוד ולא ייכשל במחשבתו. 35 מתוך מאמר לסיום הזוהר. 35 from a speech for the completion of the Zohar. It's said in the Zohar that the book of Zohar will be revealed only at the end of days, meaning the days of the Messiah. This is so because we have already said that if the degrees of the students are not at the full measure of the degree of the author, they will not understand his intimations, since they do not have a common attainment. And since the degree of the authors of the Zohar is at the full level of the 125 degrees, they cannot be attained prior to the days of the Messiah. It follows that there will be no common attainment with the authors of the Zohar in the generations preceding the days of the Messiah. Hence, the Zohar could not be revealed in the generations before the generation of the Messiah. 36 from the introduction to the book of Zohar. The redemption of Israel and all of Israel's merits depend on the study of the Zohar and the internality of the Torah. 37, Rav Kook. Now is the time dictating, acquiring much possessions in the inner Torah. The book of Zohar, which breaks new paths, sets lanes, makes a highway in the desert. It and all its crops are ready to open the doors of redemption. We're going to be reading from Zohar for All. We are in the portion Truma. We're on item 760, under the heading Cain and Abel, Seth, Enoch, and Mahalel. Please make sure your phones are turned off. Whoever asks a question, stand up, speak clearly into the microphone. Once again, we're on
מבוסס על סדרת ספרי זוהר לעם. ניתן להוריד את
The
הספרים.
lesson is based on articles from Zohar for All, which can be downloaded from Kabbalah.info or from the archive. Hello, we are studying from Zohar La'am. We are on the portion Truma, on the heading Cain and Abel, Seth, Enoch, and Mahalalel. Item 760, you can send questions to Kab TV or Zviva Tova. Pertinent questions will be aired during the lesson. Zohar for All, Truma, item number 760.
Cain
and Abel, Seth, Enoch, Mahalel. 760. And man knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain. The Kuf, whose leg clothed in the klipot, whose legs go down to death, began to bear in Eve's intestines with man's force and support. After she already received filth from this Kuf, first came the serpent, Kuf, over Eve, and cast filth in her. Then Adam mounted her. This is why it is not written, and begot, but and man knew. And she conceived and bore, meaning, and the waste came out inside Eve. 761. And again she bore his brother Abel. It does not say, and begot, although he was from the side of the male, from the right, since the slanderer weakened and broke his force. Because the letters Kuf, that is in Cain, began to bear the letter. It is so because Cain and Abel were two half-souls, Cain from the side of Ele, and Abel from the side of me. And the letters of Cain's name came out first. 762. Once the waste was sorted in Cain, the letters began to bear from the letters Shin Taf, which are the corrections of male and female in consent. Together, for Shin is the 3 lines of Zeranpin, which is male, and the Tav is the female, Malchut. Then it is written, and begot in his own likeness, after his image, and called his name Seth. And the reason why it is written there first, and she called, is because the name Seth is the correction of male and female together. 763. The letters incarnated further and returned to beget the Aleph of Adam. And those letters, in the place of the conclusion of his name, are Nun, after the Mem of Adam, and the Vav after the Dalet of Adam, and not the Hey after the Dalet, because this Hey was impregnated with Abel. It follows that the letters Aleph, Nun, Vav came out, and he concluded in the letters of the beginning of the name Seth, Shin, and he was called Enosh. 764. What is the connection between this name and the name Adam? Enosh was unable, but was a correction of Adam and Seth. As it is written, what is Enosh, that you should remember him? It is also written, what is man, that you magnify him, and that you notice him, that you visit him in the mornings, and that you test every moment. It is written about that, but the Lord was pleased to crush him, putting him to grief, since Seth bequeathed the breaking of the body and the force of the soul, so his son Enoch, which is the inheritance that he should have received from himself, and he also bequeathed for his son Mahalalel. 765. The letters incarnated further to correct and be twisted, which was made twisted by the sin of Adam Arishon and Cain and Abel, and they returned to bore Canaan. This is the correction of Cain, for Canaan has the letters Cain, and he was established in his stead, and the letters returned to mitigating the world from the twisting, and that was before Mahalel is the son of Canaan. The Mem of Mahalel is the end of the letters of Adam. The Hey and Lamed are corrections of the letters Abel. And since Abel was not a sinner such as Cain, the letters in his name were not replaced in Mahalel, except for one letter, where instead of the Bet of Abel, there was an Aleph in Mahalalel, to be corrected further. 766. Thus far the world was perfumed and corrected the twisting that began with Enosh, except for Adam's sin, who was not perfumed until Israel stood on Mount Sinai. But Cain and Abel twisting was corrected and perfumed. However, the world was in sorrow and sadness until the arrival of Noah. As it is written, this one will comfort us from our work and from the sadness of our hands, from the ground which the Lord has cursed. Adam's sin was not perfumed until Israel stood by Mount Sinai and received the Torah. And when Israel received the Torah, the candle and light, Malchut and Zeranpin, were corrected as one. 768. They all sat. One said, Gentlemen, now that I have seen the sorrow of my father-in-law and his daughter, who were stressed and afflicted themselves for my not knowing the blessing of the food, I told them, until I know the blessing for the food, I will not bond with my wife, as do all the people in the world. And although I could have copulated with her without the sin, I did not wish to anger them, because I could not say something before 2 months. Heading, the meaning of the blessing for the food. 769. That boy started with the blessing for the food and said, one verse says, and you shall eat before the Lord your God. And another verse says, and you shall rejoice before the Lord your God. These verses were held while Israel were in the Holy Land and were seen before the Creator in the temple. How are they held now? Who can eat before the Lord and rejoice before the Lord? 770. In the beginning, when one sits at one's table to eat, he blesses who brings forth, and not bring forth. It is said, Creator of the heaven, and not the Creator, maker of the land, and it is not written, who makes the land. What is the reason for saying here, who brings forth? 771. The hay is concealed in all things that are in the upper hidden world Binah, for there is no prefix hay there. It is to show that it is from the hidden and concealed world. Also, all the things from the lower world, Malchut, which are more revealed, are written with a hay. As it is written, he who brings out their host by number, who calls for the waters of the sea, all are from the lower world. If a name is written, it is also with a hay, such as the great God. And here, where it is openly with a hay, it is because it is from the lower world. For when a person blesses, divinity comes before him. 772. And the verse, and you shall eat before the Lord your God, is included here to speak in words of Torah. For so it should be, because the Creator stands before him. As it is written, this is the table that is before the Lord, as well as, and you shall eat there before the Lord your God. 773. And because a person stands before his master, he should also pardon the poor and give to them as the Creator gives to him to eat. He will be as one who eats before the Holy King, and he should not be audacious at his table, for audacity is from the Sitra Achra. This is the meaning of, please let me have a swallow, which is audacity. So it is needed for the Sitra Achra, as it is written, and the belly of the wicked shall want. This is why it is written, and you shall eat before the Lord your God, and not before the Sitra Achra. Also, one should not engage in idle matters or requirements of the meal. One should engage in words of Torah, for when words of Torah are said at the table, a man gives strength for his master. 774. And you shall rejoice before the Lord your God with a cup of blessing. When one blesses with a cup of blessing, he should rejoice and show gladness, and no sadness whatsoever. Because one takes a cup of blessing, the Creator stands above him, and he must wrap his head with joy and bless for the cup. In a sitting of 3 who ate as one, we shall bless of whose we have eaten. 775. And whose goodness we live. In this we need to aim the desire above towards the Ancient of the Ancients. Hence it is in the concealed manner, for it says, and in whose goodness, and does not say and in your goodness. It says and in whose goodness, and in not from whose goodness, because and in whose goodness is the upper right, chesed, and from whose goodness is a different degree, below, which comes from the right side, zzsolt. For this reason we should say and in whose goodness, since in goodness, chesed, is the world built. And it is written, for I have said, a world of chesed shall be built, and that he is fed. 776. He asks, why is it called good and why is it called chesed, which are 2 names? Good means that the spheras includes everything within it, and the light does not expand to descend below. Chesed is when the light comes down and does good to all creations, to the righteous and to the wicked, and there is no fear because there are no dinim in it. And although both good and chesed are the same degree, as it is written, only goodness and mercy shall follow me, if he says good, why does he say chesed? And if he says chesed, why does he say good? However, one of them should be enough. Indeed, good contains everything within it, and does not expand below. And chesed descends and expands below, nourishing all, righteous and wicked alike. The good is illumination of Chokhmah that is included in Chesed. It illuminates from below upward and not downward. But Chesed illuminates from above downward. 777. It says, and in whose goodness we live. It could be interpreted that the abundance does not come down of the righteous and to the wicked. Hence, he repeats and says, who nourishes the whole world with his goodness with chesed. As it is written, gives bread to all flesh, for his mercy is forever. This is why it says, who nourishes all, the righteous and the wicked, all. This is called the blessing of the right, chesed. The left, gvura and din, is not in the blessing for the food. For this reason, the left hand shall not help the right hand to hold the cup. 778. Once he has blessed the blessing for the food, the land of the living, malchut, should be attached to the right, to be nourished from there, and to provide and give nourishments to all. This is why the second blessing is the blessing of the land. In it, the covenant and the Torah should be mentioned. For your covenant, which you have imprinted in our flesh, and for your law, which you have taught us, to show that the covenant and the Torah are nourished by that goodness, that is the correction of that goodness. 779. We learn from that women are exempt from the blessing of the food as a duty, because there are no Torah or covenant in them. And will put a seal on the land and on the food, since their dvikut together is in chesed. For the land is the land of the living, malchut. For the food is chesed, and they are included in one another in one dvikut. 780. The expansion of the good is a thanksgiving called chesed, because when the good expanded below, we thank for it. This is why it says, we thank you for this and for that, for miracles and tokens that were done for us on the part of the good. But it is written, pleasantness is in your right forever, but netzach is in the right and not hod. However, each shows the place from which it came out, because netzach is a result of wars, and the wars are left. Hod is a result of expansion of the chesed, which is right. But in themselves, netzach is right, and hod is left. In the blessing for the food, it relates to the place from which the hod came out. Hence, it is right. 781. Netzach is right, but it is written in that regard, pleasantness is in your right forever. It is also written, the sweet psalmists of Israel and psalms are left. Therefore, is Netzach left? It replies that every left is included in right, since Netzach is right, and pleasantness, which is left, is included in it. But thanksgiving, for he thanks for the goodness on the right. It is to show that the Hod comes out of there. For this is a result of the expansion of the good from the right, and this is the expansion of the good that expanded in the land of living, the Malchut. 782. What's the reason that there is no left in the blessing for the food, but only right? It is because the Sitra Achra has no part in the food of Israel. Had the left awakened, the Sitra Achra would awaken with it, as it extends from the left. But he already sold his seniority and his share to Jacob the patriarch. Hence, we give the slanderer his share in the filth of the last water, and if there is no filth in the hands that were washed, then his share is in the food to which the hands drew close, for there are still remnants of food in them. The Sitra Achra suckles from the left line, which is not included in the right, through the middle line. For their only aim is to extend illumination of Chokhmah on the left from above downward, Gar of Chokhmah. And due to the absence of Chasadim, the Chokhmah cannot illuminate and impart harsh dinim. This is the quality of Esau. Jacob, the middle line, diminishes the left line from Gar of Chokhmah, but because of it, he unifies it in the right line. And the Chokhmah dresses in the Chasadim on the right, and illuminates in Vak of Chokhmah. It was said in the Zohar that Jacob is called small because of a lack of Gar of Chokhmah, and Esau is called big because of his effort to suckle from Gar of Chokhmah, which is Esau's seniority. And it's written, and Esau came in from the field, which is the left line, called field, extending Chokhmah from above downward to receive the Gar of Chokhmah. Because of it, it is written, he was tired, since Chokhmah was extended to him without Chasadim, which is all dinim, makes him tired to death. It is written about it, and Esau said to Jacob, please let me have a swallow, meaning extended to him of his Chasadim, which are called bread and lentil stew. And Jacob said, sell me your seniority today, meaning hand over his seniority, Gar of Chokhmah, which is necessarily diminished through the middle line. Then he would unite the left with the right, and would give him Chasadim, which is food. It is written, and Esau said, behold, I am about to die. Since the dinim that extend from Gar of Chokhmah, which are seniority, are as harsh as death. So of what use then is the seniority to me? And he swore to him that he would not cling to the seniority once more. And then he gave him food, which is Chasadim, through the unification of right and left. But if Esau were to break the oath and return to extending seniority, the food would spoil and become filth. Therefore, there is no left in the blessing for the food, because the Sitra Achra has no part in the food of Israel, as the Sitra Achra, who clings to the left to extend from above downward, is devoid of food, Chasadim. And if there is food, there is necessarily a unification of two lines, right and left, and the Sitra Achra departs from there. For lack of nourishments on the left, Esau sold the seniority to Jacob, the patriarch. Thus, by the awakening of the left of the Sitra Achra, the food departs. This is why we give the slanderer his share in the filth of the last water, since the washing of the filth from the hands indicates the food that is being spoiled due to the dvikut with the left of the Sitra Achra, which is called filth. And the Sitra Achra is implied as it being the share, meaning of what is attached to him. If it is still not completely cling to the left, then turning it to the food into filth. And then his share in the food is that his hands draw the close to him. Hands indicates extension of chokhmah from above downward, and even though he still did not extend from above down, but the hands drew close to extend it, and the food is also spoiled and becomes the share of the Sitra Achra. 783. For this reason, the Sitra Achra has no part with us. For this reason, his share is in the left without right. He has no part in the food, chesed. And because he has no share with us, for he already took his share in the left, we need not evoke the left at all, even by inclusion with the right, through the middle line. This is so that the slanderer will not awaken to suckle from his food, from the chasadim that clothe the chokhmah in the left, and will then receive two parts as a senior, one below in the left without right, extended from above downward, and one above in chasadim that clothe the vak of chokhmah that illuminates from below upwards. He already sold his birthright to Jacob the patriarch because he saw two parts in Jacob, chokhmah and chasadim, which clothed the chokhmah, and admitted that he had only one part, chokhmah without chasadim, and that he was going to die. His share is below, in the left, that it extended from above downward, and he has nothing above, because he has no part in chasadim that clothe the chokhmah through the middle line, for the chokhmah illuminates from below upwards. Israel took above, and Esau took below. Hence, the left will not draw near at all during the blessing for the food. With this, you should understand that the senior takes twofold, chokhmah and chasadim, and the rest of the brothers, only chasadim. 784. Once the land of the living had been blessed from the right and receives food, we ask for mercy for all, and say, have mercy, the Lord our God, on Israel your people, and on Jerusalem your city. Because we, your people Israel, will receive from the food and provision in the land of the living, Malchut, and the temple will be built below by these mercies. This is, and on Jerusalem your city. 785. And on the Sabbath, where there is no din, so that Netzach and Hod will not be considered chasadim, Netzach right consists of left and the result of din from wars, and Hod is a result of expansion of the chasadim below. It follows that they are not actual chasadim, but are considered chasadim. But on Sabbath, in which there is no din, we say, please wish to strengthen us. Please wish is Netzach, and strengthen us is Hod. For then they are Netzach Hod, the faithful chasadim of David, the actual chasadim. Hence, let there not be trouble and grief, for then, please wish, and we thank Netzach and Hod, which are the chasadim of David, without inclusion of any din. Establish peace, that we say in the prayer, in the blessing, he who makes peace in his heights will make peace on us, is Yesod, who gives David's chasadim to David, Malchut. 786. Afterwards we say, the good who does good, since everything comes from the right side and nothing from the left side. The one who blesses the blessing for the food receives the blessings first, prior to those who repeat after him. He is blessed in the blessings for the food, and for this reason he has long days. Because one who takes a cup of blessing and blesses on it, it is written, I shall raise a cup of salvations. Salvations are right, saving for all the slanderers in the world. As it is written, and his right shall save him. And it is written, save with your right and answer me. Are there any questions? No? Good? Yes? Friends from Ramat Gan are asking, what's the indication to know that we're keeping the right intention while we're reading the Zohar? We should first try to constantly think that I'm expecting the light to bestow upon my 10. That's it. That's what I want to happen. There are no indications or anything, just to think about that. We connect as much as we're capable, and we want the upper light to have an influence on us and to complete the connection in the right way and clothe it, be revealed. That's it. It could be that my 10 is where I sit with them, see them. It could be that they're dispersed in all kinds of places across earth. The main thing is that here I have a certain mold that I can depict to myself, that I want this form to connect and take on the form of the light, the form of the Creator. Let's go. The 7 blessings of the bride. 788. And you shall make the boards for the tabernacle of acacia wood, standing up. The boards here are the seraphim. These seraphim, which are called boards, stand in the correction of the bride, divinity, and circle the chuppah, which covers above the boards, so there will be upper ruach, zeranpin, in the chuppah. Similarly is the bride below. A chuppah should be set up for covering in the correction for the other bride, divinity, who comes to be in gladness over the lower bride. 789. Because of the honor of the upper bride, a chuppah must be made handsome with all the corrections of beauty, to summon the upper bride, divinity, into this chuppah. It is so because, as with every circumcision of a covenant below, a second chair should be set up with beauty for the envious one of the token of the covenant who comes there, Elijah. Here too, each chuppah must have corrections of beauty for a cover over a chuppah for a bride, which is divinity. 790. Because the lower bride stands like the upper bride. The lower bride ascends in 7 blessings, and the upper one ascends in 7 blessings. Therefore, it is forbidden to mate with her until she is included in those 7 blessings, like the upper one. 791. The bride, divinity, inherits the 7 blessings from the upper ruach, zeranpin, the place from which all the blessings extend. Yet 6 blessings, chagat nehi of zeranpin, extend from there by which the bride is blessed. So how do you say that they are 7? Indeed, the 7th sustains everything, because the 7th blessing corresponds to Binah. 792. The majority of the blessings are on the wine, for the wine delights all. On that wine which is always kept in its grapes. The left line in Binah is called wine, after the illumination of Chokhmah in it. And since it illuminates only from below upwards, it is regarded as illuminating inside the grapes. And the grapes are not pressed, and nothing comes out of them downwards. For the wine is kept in its grapes. The pressing of the grapes means drawing the Chokhmah from above downwards, which is the sin of the tree of knowledge. For the tree of knowledge was a vine. For this reason, the first blessing of the 7 blessings is who creates the fruit of the vine. For wine makes fruits above and in Binah and below in Malchut. The vine, Malchut, receives everything and elicits fruits to the world. It is so because by the wine that she receives, Malchut is called lower Chokhmah. Because she receives Chokhmah, before she receives Chokhmah, she is unfit for bearing. The awakening of the joy, the beginning of Zivug of Zeranpin and Malchut is left. As it is written, his left under my head, and his right shall embrace me. That tree of life, Zeranpin, bears fruit and offspring in the awakening of the left. For before he receives Chokhmah from the left of Binah, it is unfit for bearing. Hence, this is the first among all the blessings. 793. The second blessing, who has created everything for his glory, is the Holy Covenant, Yesod of Zeranpin, who is called all, the joy of bonding, who receives all the blessings from the right, Chesed, to bear fruit of the vine, Malchut, which is called his glory. In the beginning, fruit comes from above from Binah through the organs, Sfirot of Zeranpin, and extends to the Holy Covenant, Yesod, to extend to the vine, Malchut. This is from the right side, Chesed, since there are fruits only on the right. The left induces the bearing of the fruits, and the right makes the fruits. Fruits are the souls of the righteous. 794. Afterwards, the left is included in the right, and the right in the left, to be a man who is the middle line, Tiferet. For this reason, the third blessing is who formed man. Hence, Jacob, the middle pillar, was in the form of man, since the form of man indicates the middle line, in which right and left are included. 795. The fourth blessing, who fashioned, is one pillar of the right thigh, Netzach, the fifth blessing. The barren one shall rejoice and be exalted, is the landlady, Malchut, in the joy of gathering and clothing her sons into her from the four winds of the world. This is the other thigh, Netzach, which joined the left thigh, Hod, to walk to all sides and gather the gatherings of the sons, bringing them in between the knees, which are Netzach Hod. 796. In those two, Netzach and Hod, between which the prophets stay, the form from whom they receive their prophecies, is the joy of the landlady, Malchut. It is so because the two willows, Netzachot, do not bear fruit or offspring, and the gatherings of the sun to them is their fruit and offspring, which they bring to the landlady, Malchut. The gathering of the sons awakens only in the prophets, Netzach and Hod. Hence, the barren one shall rejoice and be exalted in the gathering of her sons, is in Hod. 797. The sixth blessing, make glad and delight in the beloved friends, is a place where goodwill, joy, and brotherhood are found. This is the pillar of the entire world, which is called righteous, Yesod. Righteous and Tzedek, Yesod and Malchut. And friends and loved ones do not move from one another, because this blessing includes Malchut as well. This is why it says, beloved friends. Thus far are 6 blessings by which the bride is blessed. 798. The 7th blessing sustains everything, and all are blessed. This is because Binah, the source of all the mochin, the whole of the 10 utterances, 10 sfirot, for it includes above and below, gar and zat. Thus, 10 kinds of joy are included in it: merriment, gladness, groom, bride, gaiety, joviality, love, brotherhood, peace, and friendship, so that the bride will be the wholeness of everything. 799. Happy are Israel who are rewarded below, such as above. It is written about them, who is as your people, Israel, one nation in the land. And all your sons will be taught of the Lord. 803. Rabbi Shimon said, certainly for a few days this year, the Creator awakens a great incarnation in the world, meaning great wars for the kings of the earth against each other, and certainly while they execute hostilities against each other, Israel will be relieved. 804. That child said, but on that day, this awakening began, for on that day much blood was spilled in the world. Rabbi Chia told him, who does this could know this? How does this child know this? Rabbi Shimon said, sometimes prophecy falls in the mouths of children, and they prophesy more than a prophet. 805. That child said, is it surprising that there is prophecy for children? Is it a whole verse that writes, and all your children shall be taught of the Lord? Certainly they are taught of the Lord. Netzach and Hod are called taught of the Lord, since prophecy comes out of them. But this is not for the whole world, but only for Israel, of whom it is written, and all your children shall be taught of the Lord. And because of that, prophecy emerges from them. And you shall make the boards. 806. This is the Creator's commandment to Moses, and you shall make the boards for the tabernacle of acacia wood, standing up. It is also written, seraphim stood above him, since the work of the tabernacle with those boards was as those seraphim, these stand and those stand. 807. Are not all the hosts of the heavens standing? As it is written, and I will grant you access among these who are standing here. It is also written, and all the hosts of heaven standing by him. After all the upper hosts have no legs to bend and sit. So are they all standing upright? They are all standing. Sometimes they are called seraphim, and sometimes by another name. Those of whom it is written, seraphim standing, are always in the name seraphim. And his comparing the boards of the tabernacle to seraphim is possible for all the angels above, who are all sometimes called seraphim. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. 808. A psalm for David, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. What is the difference between a psalm for David and for David a psalm? A psalm for David indicates that divinity was over him, and then he said the psalm. For David a psalm indicates that first he said the psalm, and then divinity was over him. Here, in the Lord is my shepherd, divinity came before and was over him first. For it is written, a psalm for David. Why was divinity first here? After all, should David have been first? Since he asked of the Creator for his food. 809. Certainly divinity came before and was on him, evoking him to praise this praise to the king and to ask the king for food. And so it should be with matters of food that divinity wants, and it is her wish that all people in the world will pray for nourishments. Since the Creator wishes to bring down good to the world, divinity takes first, and thanks to her, food comes down to all the worlds, for the lower ones cannot receive anything if this upper one does not receive first. For this reason, divinity came first in the matter of food and was over David. Man's nourishments. Yes. I noticed that from the beginning of this week, the beginning of the purification for Bezach, people are busy, there's no one here in studying. Both those are studying, those are in purification, cleaning. Everyone is in great joy, a feeling of confidence, a feeling of triumph. Very nice. The question is, there's like an agreement for the work and not about the reward. My question is, what happened to my friends? The blow of Passover. It's the preparation for the Exodus. Yeah. It's amazing. Yes, this week and the week before that and next week, we will see many changes. There's many. L'chaim, beloved. L'chaim. Okay? Good, let's go. Man's nourishments are as hard as the tearing of the Red Sea. 810. The Lord is my shepherd, the Lord is my shepherd, such as the shepherd who leads his flocks in a place where there is grass, herbs, so that nothing will be lacking there. Here too the Creator is my shepherd, to nourish me with all that I need. The Lord is my shepherd, this is my nourishments are as hard as the tearing of the Red Sea. There are two interpretations, and both are true. 811. It is because all the works of the Creator are in judgment and truth, and the whole world exists on judgment and truth. Each day, He sentences the world in judgment, to righteous, to wicked, and to the rest of the people in the world. As it is written, "For the Lord is righteous, he loves righteousness." And when he sentences people and sees how wicked and sinful they are before him, it is hard for him to give them food at any time, since he needs to feed the wicked and those who sin. 812. He deals leniently with them and provides for them according to the high grace that extends and drips over all the people of the world. In it, he nourishes and provides for all the righteous, the pious, the wicked, all the people of the world, all the animals and beasts of the field, and the birds of the sky, from the greatest to the smallest. There is no one in the world for whom he does not nourish and provide for all, although it is as difficult for him as the tearing of the Red Sea due to the deeds of the people in the world. 813. Was the tearing of the Red Sea hard for him? It is written, he rebukes the sea and makes it dry. And it's written, who calls for the waters of the sea and pours them out on the surface of the earth. And when the desire appears before him, everything is as nothing before him. So how do you say that the tearing of the Red Sea was hard for him? 814. But when Israel approached the sea and the Creator wished to tear the Red Sea for them, Rahav came, the appointee over Egypt, and asked the Creator for judgment. He said to him, Master of the world, why do you wish to execute judgment on Egypt and tear the sea for Israel? After all, they are all sinners before you, while all your ways are in judgment and truth. These are idol worshippers, and those are idol worshippers. Their sin is in incest, and those in incest, and these shed blood, and those shed blood. 815. At that time it was hard for the Creator to go by the way of judgments. And behold, Israel were journeying by the sea. As it is written, and the Lord said, Speak to the children of Israel that they go forward. It was hard for him to break the judgment and tear the Red Sea for them. Had the Creator not regarded Abraham's merit, who hurried in the morning to do his master's commandment and will, as it is written, and Abraham arose early in the morning, they would all be lost at sea, since all through that night the Creator was in judgment over Israel. 816. It's written, and the one did not come near the other all night. Teaches that the angels of the upper one came before the Creator that night to praise. He told them, My works are drowning in the sea, and you are praising me? Promptly, and the one did not come near the other all night. Because it's written, or one near the other was said of the angels who praise the Creator, as it is written, and one called unto another, and he said, Holy. It is also written, and it came to pass at the morning watch, and the Creator regarded Abraham's merit, who rose early to do his master's will. As it is written, and Abraham arose early in the morning, then the sea regressed, and the water fled from Israel. 817. And the sea regained its strength at daybreak. Regained its strength means its first condition, the condition which the Creator conditioned it when He created the world. He conditioned with it that it would tear for Israel. For its strength was the letters of condition. It's written, its strength, and it's written, maskil, educated. For Ethan and Zarahite, who is Abraham, here its strength also implies Abraham. The sea tore at daybreak when Abraham arose in the morning to do his master's will. This is why the tearing of the Red Sea was hard before him. Zivugim are as hard for the Creator as the tearing of the Red Sea. 818. Similarly, zivugim are as hard for the Creator as the tearing of the Red Sea. Just as the Red Sea, where He kills those on that side and sustains those on this side, it is the same with the zivugim, where it's written, He leads out the prisoners into prosperity, which has the letters of weeping and singing. For one dies here, there is weeping, and he gives his wife to another, and there is singing. Sometimes a wicked comes by a good wife. For this reason, zivugim are as hard for him as the tearing of the Red Sea. However, these are hidden secrets in everything, and all is in judgment. What they commented about it is to explain why this was rejected from that. 819. Zivugim are as hard for the Creator, not before the Creator, since before means that he stands before the Creator and serves him, meaning Malchut, who receives from the Creator. This is why we do not learn that zivugim are hard for the Creator, or that man's nourishments are hard for the Creator, but before the Creator, which is the Malchut. It is so because for this for Malchut, all the hard work that is in their domain. Although she works in the domain of another, for she receives everything from the Creator, which is why it can be said that things are hard for her. 820. It's written, and the soul was created before me. What is before? It is the next world, Binah, where all the life is found. Another interpretation, it is the upper channel, a river whose water never stops. Yesod of Zeranpin, which receives all the refinements of the next world, Bina. It is written, that soul shall be cut off from before me. Meaning that the soul will be cut off from the upper refinements in the place where there is the pleasantness of the Creator, Bina. This is what the word before indicates, before the Creator, that the Creator receives from it, meaning Bina, who receives to Zeranpin, who gives to Zeranpin, who is called the Creator. 821. Therefore it is written, and Jonah rose up to flee to Tarshish from before the Lord. For the people knew that he was running from the Lord. What is the reason that Jonah ran? And who can run from the Creator? But he was going to and running to exit the land of Kedusha, because divinity is absent outside the land of Israel. And to not have the divinity over him, he was running from the land of Kedusha, where divinity is present. As it is written, your wife is as a fruitful vine, I have blessed your house. A fruitful vine is divinity, as divinity was hidden before, in the house of Holy of Holies. A humble woman does not walk outside her house. This is why he compares the wife to divinity. And this is why Jonah was running outside the land of Kedusha. And he asks, but there is written from before and does not write before. So how does it still mean divinity and not Bina? 822. Indeed, it is from before, prior to divinity, since the spirit of prophecy does not come from divinity, but prior to divinity. These are 2 degrees of the prophets, Netzach Hod, which are over divinity. He feared being in the place of Netzach Hod in the Holy Land, lest the prophecy would be applied to him. This is why it is written from before, since he is running from before the Lord and not before the Lord, which would mean from divinity, as he would know that prophecy comes only from before, which is Netzach Hod. 823. For this reason, man's zivugim and nourishments are hard before the Creator, divinity, and this is why King David conditioned his nourishments on above, from divinity, when he said, the Lord Havaya is my shepherd, Zeranpin, since the abundance never stops above. but it does stop in divinity, since the nourishments are not dependent on her, for they are above in Zeranpin. This is why it is written, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," meaning that the nourishments will never cease from me, for the abundance of that river that stretches out of Eden, Zeranpin, who receives from Abba Ve'ima, never stops. And therefore, divinity preceded it and was on him. And then he said the praise. 824. When divinity receives nourishments above from Zeranpin for the worlds, all the angels who sanctify their master are refined and awakened, raising their wings up to cover their faces when divinity comes with those nourishments to them, so as to not look at divinity. 825. These are the three camps of the angels in one ascent, reading and saying, "Holy." They call the second camp and raise their first wings with the second ones, and the second ones say, "Holy." Those call upon the third camp, and the three camps raise their wings together, all saying, "Holy is the Lord of hosts, the whole earth is full of his glory." Hence, all of them, all three camps are entwined, those going into these, and these entering those, entwined as written about the boards, joined one to another, so shall you do for all the boards of the tabernacle. 826. Boards always maintain their sustenance and do not bend, like those standing seraphim that do not bend, for they have no legs to bend on, and they always stand without sitting. This is why it is written standing in regards to the boards. 827. It's written, "Two hands shall there be in each board, joined one to another." Here too, like the seraphim, each of which is included in both prinot, which are two handles. For in each there is its own prina, and that of the other, and in the other there is the same. This is why they are intertwined. 828. It is written similarly in the Torah, "For her profit is better than the profit of silver, and her gain better than fine gold." One teaches the other, and the other teaches the one, and they become entwined, one taking his own and that of his friend taking his own and that of his friend, meaning his reward and the reward of the friend studying with him, and then they are entwined. Hence, her profit is better than the profit of silver, for there one takes the merchandise and the other takes the pay for the merchandise. But here each is entwined in his friend, so each has both merchandise and the pay that he receives from his friend with whom he studies. 829. It's written, "He makes me lie down in green pastures, he leads me beside quiet waters." Green pastures are the upper sources, Sfirot of Zeranpin, from where all the food and provisions come. They are handsome because those Sfirot of Zeranpin are called habitations of Jacob. Neot is used for both habitations, pastures, and oases. Green pastures, since they are green in externality. Oasis, which is why he calls those of Kedusha green pastures. It is also written, "Let the land put forth grass." Thus, is grass below in the earth, Malchut. Rather, grass comes from these Naot, from which it was born and grew. They come to Malchut, which is why it is written, "He makes me lie down in green pastures." 830. He leads me beside quiet waters. This is waters of rest, extended from the place that stretches out of Eden, Bina. These waters are called still waters. He restores my soul. Is the soul of David, Malchut. By that, David only wanted to properly correct his degree. In these still waters the righteous are destined to rest in the next world, as it is written, and the Lord will guide you always.
שבט אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבט אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבט אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב, שבט אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב, שבט אחים גם יחד. מחר הכנה לשיעור בשעה 2:45.